This information is meant for the majority of those that are in this class that are notaries and or will be using notaries in your commercial transactions. I must explain the importance of understanding how a notary is to be used in the liquidity of an award. That, to me, isn't a hard subject to talk about, discuss, and implement, but it's very baffling to individuals who are hovering into simply controlled information without a clear fiduciary that you can execute upon. In other words, if you have an M3 asset in your physical possession, but you have not as of yet found an individual or entity in a capacity of competency to execute upon that fact, then you need to be in this class. I'm going to discuss in plain English as much as I can. I'm going to get a little wordy and a little technical, but I have to explain certain complex things. Exactly how this thing goes from award to disbursement. Now, if you're going to liquidate, transfer, convey, assign an M3 asset that you receive through arbitration as a notary who has taken an oath of office with your local county and state. I'm not talking about the notaries who were grandfathered into this by simply doing the educated studies and apprenticeship. I'm talking about those notaries who actually became a notary in their said county and state. If you are a notary that went through the arbitration training and you have received certification from the city, town, and or state of being a notary public in good standing, you are obligated to observe commercial transactions, and upon observing that during these commercial transactions, all Uniform Commercial Code, all Uniform Trust Code, all General Accepted Accounting Principles, all International Financial Accounting Standard Board principles are not followed, then you can protest. You can make a notarial protest, and then from that aspect of protest, if there is no remedy available, a civil law notary in that capacity can suggest one. Now, the power of suggestion goes to suggesting that in order for you to move value from one set of books, which may be a debits increase your balance sheet. The notary could identify the debit that increases one's balance sheet and utilize a presentment to assign a credit to another institutions on their books. The notary can identify and execute a notary a protest and presentment to bring forth that remedy. But the notary isn't bounded by conventional statutory rules when it comes to commerce if they are acting as a fiduciary. It's only when the notary has been deduced to a lesser role. If a notary who's performing a notarial act as a civil law notary is to be reduced to a lesser role, what is a lesser role of a civil law notary? What role will that notary be in a lesser capacity? please press 9-4 on your keypad and put your answers inside the chat. What role would a notary take of a lesser capacity than being a civil law notary in commerce? Please put your answers inside the chat. While you're thinking of the answer, let me help you. When a civil law notary acting in commerce decides that they should, may, and prefer to serve a lesser role, they deduce themselves to a what? A commercial witness. Now, as a commercial witness, you don't have a dog in the fight. You just know that Fido bit first. And Jane got 5 stitches. And Bobby got bit too. When you serve as a commercial witness, you're just witnessing facts. When you're acting as a civil law notary, you are administering a notarial protest and presentment. And only a notary in his or her fiduciary capacity has the authority to act in such. Only another notary of equal standings can determine, defer, rebut such standings. So when you as a notary are in commerce, possessing an M3 asset, and you have no equal to bestow, convey, assign that lawful legal money affiliated and associated with your award, your only option is to deal with another equal. In layman's terms, you're not going to get the M3 asset, put it in your bank account, and turn it into cash and go pay the folks in the public. Because you know what you need to do if you're in that position, technically? Without a notary, everything I described were public obligations. And technically, since House Joint Resolution 192 took away your ability to pay any debt, all you can do is offset it against your future labor. And because the game is rigged, they have a right to tax you right out of your estate, because the court systems is a benefit. Going to jail is a benefit. Being taxed is a benefit. You're calling these things liabilities, but in their books, these are literally equitable positions because it is the cost to serve the public. Fiduciaries witness how the public has provided all of these things for the general population. That's why the state gets their money, the local individuals get their money, and after you done paid everybody else, then you try to pay yourself with whatever's left, and usually it's not enough to go around, so there's nothing left. You don't even really make enough to save. Currency transaction reports are the first thing most of you guys as notaries got introduced to when it comes to commerce. Layman's terms, if you know what a CTR is, but the person you're speaking to who's an expert also in commerce doesn't, does that make the person who doesn't know that truth greater or lesser? If you already know the answer, I'll help you. The greater has influence over the lesser. After you read the instructions that's attached to those CTR 104 forms, and they still stand before you as a fiduciary, unequipped, unaware, and incapable, that constitutes incompetency. And as a notary, you have a right not to contract with another fiduciary who's incompetent. You have a fiduciary responsibility to bring it to the only thing that everybody that is incompetent, that has a social security number, an address, a driver's license, so forth, you can only take it to the local courts, not as having them be your daddy, but saying, look, here's the deal. Here's this lawful legal money that needs to go to this institution on behalf of this debtor over here. Here's the instructions. The clerk of court who's going to be handling this presentment is a notary. So technically, one notary is talking to, one notary is handing, one notary is dealing, one notary is conveying, contracting, interacting, consulting with a what? Another public official who happens to be another notary. So it's notary to notary transactions that need to be done. And a lot of individuals in the public, well, I hear what the lawyer said. I hear what the CPA said. I hear what President Obama said and everybody else, Donald Trump and Jesus said, but I didn't hear from the notary who's handling the presentment. How is it that you can go to UPS and get a document notarized, but when you're dealing with conveying lawful legal money to an institution and you are a notary in good standings, you don't request as a public official to deal with another public official who is what? At least part of the same guild as a notary to complete the transaction. Oh, I know why. Because in the public, you're dealing with controlled information. This is private trustee training, and 99% of all the things we're discussing are in these 500 plus manuals that we've been selling in our bookstore.